Breakthrough classrooms are Mahopac's thinking about what our future classrooms are going to look like. And the whole goal of Breakthrough classrooms is to create the future of a classroom in Mahopac with teaching techniques that are going to be the future teaching techniques in Mahopac. So we had a lot of innovation going on in pockets across the district. And so we wanted to have some kind of thread that pulled all that innovation together. The traditional model was really, had a certain value system around it. All students are going to do the same thing at the same time. All the important stuff happened in the front of the classroom, and generally it was directed by the teacher. So the teacher did most of the work and the students would sit and absorb the information. That system was around for a few hundred years, and it was really around because it was producing workers that were successful in factories, where students would be asked to do repetitious work, and when they became adults they'd go to factories and work in an environment where they'd be asked to do repetitious work like cogs in a wheel. The whole economy has changed. It used to be the teacher that was the purveyor of content. Now the content is at the students' fingertips. So what we find is colleges and employers are looking for forward-thinking kids that are solving problems in new ways, that are innovative, that are building things, that are applying what they know to real-life examples. So our classroom models need to mirror that. Breakthrough classrooms, we have 7 pillars that are propping up the whole initiative. The first one is mindfulness, and what we found is that students are becoming increasingly anxious, increasingly school-phobic. We're seeing more and more situations where students are not functioning well in social situations. And so what we need to do with our teachers is teach them how to teach our students how to quiet the noise in their head and be productive in this kind of 21st century fast-paced world. And so by adding that piece of mindfulness, when we find that students are more able to focus, more able to be productive, more able to keep going to school and learn that persistence that they need to be successful. Learning is a collaborative process. Students learn more when they interact with others, which again is different. It's one of the primary differences between a traditional classroom where there was very little interaction between students and a more modern breakthrough classroom.
I feel like when you're by yourself and you don't know any of the material, you really can't do much. But when you work with a partner, instead of being by yourself, and you can ask for help, and you can just get more done more efficiently and the right way.
So they're building community in their classroom. An additional thing that it does for us is it makes them feel safe, and we know that students learn more when they feel safe. So the third pillar is physical space, which is about the learning environment, to really use that environment to leverage and maximize learning. When you walk into a breakthrough classroom, it's basically a change in the traditional model of teaching and learning. Typically the desks are not all facing forward or in one direction. Usually you'll see a combination of desks and tables, even other surfaces to work on. We're looking at more flexible lighting models. We're looking at the use of sound and music in these classrooms, looking at how we use color differently than we do in traditional classrooms. So I think you'll see a physical space that's different.
You know, I have kids sitting on the floor, I have kids working in groups, I have kids that are working, standing, I have them working on the windowsills, I have them writing on my windows, and it kind of at times looks somewhat chaotic, but they're always moving forward.
They need to feel ownership of the space. They need to feel comfortable wherever they are in their environment. They need to feel that they're not coming into a classroom and having to sit in the same seat all day looking in the same direction, but they can actually get up and move. They can make decisions about where they're going to work. For example, the game on the floor, it works perfectly because it's like a game they're playing, almost as if it's recess. And they're still getting a lot accomplished, and they're cooperating and they're collaborating.
Yeah, so a culture of rigor and excellence. There's a difference between something being difficult and something being rigorous. What we're trying to do with breakthrough classrooms is draw that distinction. And what rigorous work is to us is by really taking the content that's readily available, joining it with some skills that they learned from the teacher, putting those things together and producing some kind of original content that means something to the real world.
It's deeper thinking. It's not just, oh, I know how to do that because I did it the rote. It's kind of looking at the children and saying, what are you interested in? What direction can we go? And then the skills just come out.
Fifth pillar is engaged and empowered learners, and those two things are different. Engaged learners are where all students are participating in some kind of meaningful task. So even that is different than what we think of as more of a traditional education, where a teacher might pose a question and students will all answer, raise their hands to answer, and the teacher would call on one student. So you got one student engaged, not necessarily all students engaged. So instead of asking a question where you'd have one student participate, you'd ask questions in ways, or have the classroom engage in activities in ways where all students can participate at the same time. So then we get to the empowered part. The empowered part is, where does the learning become authentic?
Anytime if you were to walk into my classroom, you would see kids doing 10 different things, and they're all doing something that is that is engaging and meaningful and empowering, and I'm more of the facilitator, so I can be in the classroom and sort of working with small groups and working with one-to-one. And
we also think about voice and choice when it comes to empowering students. So they have some choice over their learning. They have some choice over how they do learn it and how they complete a particular activity to show that they know. And teachers would have more flexibility in allowing students to show that they know differently, that everybody wouldn't get the same exact assessment necessarily.
I can take an idea and then hand it to them and let them run with it. And that what comes out of it, they're applying their skills. It's not just we're learning a skill and letting it go.
I like it because you can learn separate things and you learn them in different ways. You play games, and like the math vocabulary game makes it fun.
The 6 pillars: differentiated learning and assessment. And the idea behind differentiated learning and assessment is that we know that all kids don't learn in the same way at the same time. And they all can't show us what they know in the same way necessarily, nor should they. So when it comes to differentiation, the idea is that teachers design lessons so that students can show us what they do know in a way that they learn best. And students can learn in a way that they learn best.
It's a really good side of learning because like some people are auditory learners, some people are hands-on learners. So like people that like to hear, they can look at the board and like while a teacher's talking, or you can be hands-on where you're learning like both auditory and hands-on. It helps you learn more. You're always moving around the room constantly, and you're never sitting down. You always have something in your hand doing something.
The 7th and the last pillar is seamless integration of technology. The idea is technology is everywhere now. It's ubiquitous in our society, and it needs to be in our classrooms. And the seamless integration is basically working with teachers and students so they understand that we can move back and forth between low-tech options and high-tech options, and that students can move, and juggle those things together, and that there isn't much of a seam, if any, between a low-tech option, maybe students brainstorming on a whiteboard, and a high-tech option where they would take out a piece of technology and be able to collaborate using some kind of collaborative Google tool, just as an example.
We've taken digital data analysis, acquisition. We have probes that integrate with our Chromebooks in class, so the kids can design their own experiments and collect their own data with accelerometers and temperature probes and pH probes, that now they can get real-time data that they can now manipulate and share with not just themselves or their partner, but they can share immediately with me. They can get feedback directly from me. They can share it with somebody else who's not even in their class, so that they can collaborate outside of the classroom, not just in the 4 walls of my room.
I like that it's all online because if I travel a lot for sports, so if I need to do something, I can do it in the car. And I like this teaching style just because I don't love the whole lecture thing, so I think it's really great when a teacher just like gives you what you need to do and like lets you go and just do everything you need to.
They're definitely more engaged, they're more excited about learning, and they're always striving for more now. There's always, what's the next step? Where are we going to go? And they're part of those decision-making process.
The engagement, the empowerment that we're giving them is just so much more inspiring. And the kids, I think, look forward to come to the classroom every day, and I look forward to everything that they're accomplishing, their projects and their communication. I'm amazed at the skills, I'm amazed at the way they communicate, I'm amazed at how engaged and empowered they are in their own learning.